Alright, hey everybody, and welcome to my second video. Right now it is July 12th, the day of stage 11. This video is pretty much just going to be me talking about stage 9, 10, 11, talking about stage 12 and just some other things with the GC. Sorry I haven't been able to get these videos out to you. Had a lot of technical difficulties and hoping to have bypass those now and I can get going consistently. So I'm going to start off by, well, I'm assuming that a Stage 9 preview is not going to do anybody any good now, as a sequel to my last video of Stages 1 through 8. But, so in Stage 9, hopefully you all caught it. Lot of action, some good, some bad. Unfortunate news with Richie Port having to abandon on a crash on the downhill. Dan Martin also getting caught in that crash, and then another of his own making on the next corner of that same descent down the Montouchat, or on the other side of the Montouchat. And then Chris Froome getting a mechanical problem with his back his derailleur, and then Fabio attacking right under his arm. And so, just a brief summary of Stage 9. Rigoberto Urán winning the stage over Warren Barguil, and then Froome in third. Froome getting the 4-second time bonus over Bardet, Aru, and Fulsang. And then a group of Bennett, Landa, Martin, Quintana, Yates, coming in a minute 15 down. Also, for probably the one of the headlines of Stage 9 is Chris Froome losing his right-hand man and Grant Thomas. Of course, I was just reminded of this information by my right-hand man, my brother Sam, who's here helping me today with the stats and everything technical, because I'm really terrible with that stuff. So, the Stage 9, and then obviously, what's his name? Alberto Contador finishing 4 minutes 19 down, losing 4:23 to Froome. His yellow jersey ambitions seem to be dashed as of now. And then also probably another big story is Nairo Quintana losing that 1:15 is another, looks to be another bad result coming for the Colombian in the Tour. Now, in the overall standings after Stage 9 and also after Stage 11, you have Froome, and then Aru 18 seconds back, Bardet 51 seconds back, Urán 55 seconds back, Fulsang 137, and then you get into the guys that weren't in that final group, sprinting for the finish on Stage 9, and Dan Martin 144 back, Simon Yates 2 minutes 2 seconds back, Quintana 2:13 back, and then Landa 3:06 back, and George Bennett 3:53 back, finishing at the top 10. So pretty much the story, in my eyes, of the Tour so far has been just Team Sky's absolute dominance, and I think for a lot of people that is the story, but it's been overshadowed a bit by the loss of Richie Port and some of the other headlines in the last few days, Marcel Kittel. But I mean, you look at this, if Thomas doesn't crash out, I think he's probably still would have been in the top 5, 6 riders at the end of Stage 9, but I mean, he definitely would have been in the top 15. So if he had finished the stage, not crashed, and finished somewhere decent, Team Sky would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men in the top 15. Even without Thomas, they have 4 men, and Froome in first, Landa 9th, Nieve 14th, and now 15th. And I mean, I mean, people have said that Team Sky looks vulnerable this year, and especially after losing Thomas. But in my mind, these big three guys that are with Froome, I mean, they've all won the Tour with him before. I mean, we saw and now last year, early mountain stages just absolutely killing it. Um, Mikel Nieve also has been a consistent rider for Froome after joining the team in 2014 or 15, and then Landa coming across the sky from Astana last year. Um, Podium in the Giro in 2015, proven to be a very solid climber. That aside, though, you look into the top five and you see two Astana men with Aru and Fulsang. 18 seconds down with the Rue and Fulsang 137 down. Those two really look to be the biggest threat to Froome. More specifically, a Rue 18 seconds down. And so then I'll talk about stage 10 and 11. Pretty much stage 10, boring, long, flat stage. Marcel Kittel does it again, wins by a bike length, and probably would have won by another bike length if he hadn't sat up with 15 meters to go to celebrate. Just absolutely dominant. And then again today, I mean, Marcel Kittel getting the win again. Masiej Bodnar, I probably butchered that, but getting caught with 400 meters to go. I mean, just a warrior out there. If you all remember, I think in stage 11 of last year's tour, he actually was in that four-man breakaway of Thomas, Froome, Sagan, and Bodnar that took time in the crosswinds before the Mont Ventoux stage. So, I mean, those are the stories of the last 2 days. And then before I talk about stage 12 and tomorrow's stage, I want to talk about something that has kind of crossed my mind over the last few days, especially when I've been listening to NBC really kind of talk about their surprise of Chris Froome not absolutely dominating everybody in the mountains. And I've listened to podcasts, and they've almost been astounded at how Chris Froome hasn't been able to just distance his rivals completely like he has in the past. And I'm just going to take a sneak peek into last year's tour and just talk about some things that I've come to notice. So last year's tour, Richie Porte finished 5th, 5:17 down, but he lost like a minute and 50 to all the GC guys with a flat on stage 2. So I'm going to put that 150 aside, which if he hadn't lost, obviously he would have been treated different in the coming stages, but I'm just going to talk about time that Chris Froome gained on Richie Porte, who was the man who lost the least amount of time to Froome, other than that unlucky 150. So if we go to stage 8 of the tour, at the end of the tour, Richie Porte's 5:17 down, as I said. But if we go to stage 8 of last year's tour, this is the stage that Chris Froome had the crazy descent down to Bagnères de Luchon, and took 13 seconds, 13 real seconds on everybody in the next GC group, including 10 more bonus seconds on Porte. So he gained 23 seconds that day on a descent, as I mentioned. Then the next day to Andorra Arcoles in the mountains, Chris Froome gained 2 seconds on Richie Porte on that summit finish. Then on stage 13 was the first time trial of the race. Froome gained... we've got to look through the standings. Let's see, where's Porte? Porte finished 3:08 down. Froome was 1:03 down, so he gained 2 minutes and 5 seconds on Porte in there. And then stage 18. Is that where we're going next?
Stage 18,
18.
yes.
So on stage 18 was the second time trial, which Froome won and gained 33 seconds on port. And then 19, Froome, this is the day that Froome fell off his bike, gained around, where is port? You see him? For 27 seconds on port. So, if, of course, that was a bunch of random numbers, but if you think back, Froome only gained 29 seconds on port in the mountains throughout all of last year's tour. And port was the man who Froome gained the most time on port, right, in that tour. But he only gained 29 seconds in the he never truly attacked and beat everybody up a climb last year, right? So you look at that, and I mean, last year they say he dominated, which he did. He won by over 4 minutes, but he didn't dominate in the mountains like he has in the past. I mean, he chased everybody down, and he really rarely lost time to anybody in the mountains. He just didn't lose time there, and then gain time in the time trials, and also especially on, I guess we didn't mention that flat stage with Sagan, and then he gained time in other places. Now, no one's really mentioned that he didn't just blow up the race last year because they've been all puzzled about how he hasn't this year. I'm going to go back to 2015. Tour de France is the great cycling news app, Tour Tracker. I'm just going through everything, the last tours. So I think stage 10, Froome, this is when Port's on Froome's team, right? Froome, they catch the breakaway, and then it's a GC group, and Richie Porte goes to the front and absolutely starts drilling. Right, he just starts drilling, and he drops everybody but Quintana and Froome. Froome's on his back wheel, and then with I don't know how many K, 4K to go, Froome just, bursts out of Port's wheel and ends up taking 104 on Quintana, and just blows up the race. But the man finishing is second, 59 seconds down, is Richie Porte. Right, that's not a big deal, but that's indicative of what was to come with Port. And then, so that's last time Froome really blew up the race and went on to win. And then we go back all the way to the 2013 Tour de France. Froome won 3 stages, 1 time trial, and 2 mountain stages, right? So stage 8, I think, was the first day he won, X3 Domain. Chris Froome won. Wait, what? Okay. So Chris Froome won, and this is pretty much, the exact same thing almost. Maybe it was Quintana, but it might not have been Quintana. But pretty much Port does the same thing. Goes to the front, blows everything up. Froome's on his wheel, and I think Quintana was on Froome's wheel, and then Froome attacks, right, and drops everybody. So standings on that stage, Froome wins. Port 51 seconds back, then Valverde 108, Mollema 110, and just drops down, right? So Froome wins that day, blows everything up, right? Then we go to stage 15 to Mont Ventoux, right? This is the day that another day that Froome won. So Quintana goes up the road early in the climb, and then Port eventually gets to his turn on the front and just starts drilling, and the Contador's on his back wheel, and there's remnants of the breakaway above the stage, but Quintana's on the front. So Port starts drilling, right? And there's only Contador left, and then Port peels off, and Froome drills it and drops Contador, catches Quintana, duels it out with him, and then goes on to win, right? But obviously you've seen a pattern. Port finished 2:49 down, 15th place, so not as good as the other times that Froome has won. But I hope you're starting to notice a pattern that every single time Froome blew up the race, as people all say that he always has, it's been because of Richie Port leading it out for him. Almost like a sprint stage, They just drill it and then let their sprinter go. Port just drills it and lets Froome go right after him, right? And yet, since Port left last year, Froome hasn't dominated on the stage. And I'm not trying to diminish. What is it? Diminish? I don't even know. I'm not trying to say that Froome isn't the rider that we thought, but the reason Froome was able to blow up the race was because he had a GC guy, a top 5 podium GC guy, attack in front of him, and then he could follow the wheel and get everyone else off, and then Froome would attack. It was like Froome had two guns to blast, you know what I mean? And then we see this year, right? So stage 9, okay? When Port is going out that climb with Froome and a couple other GC guys, we see, you know, everybody's attacking. Port goes, Froome goes, Aru goes, and they're all following the wheels, and Froome's following the wheels. None of them went full gas on that attack because they knew there's a descent and then the flat coming after that. In 2015 and 2013, those 3 stages, Port blew himself up. He gave everything. If Port had given everything on that climb and let Froome sit on his wheel like a domestique, Froome would have gained time over that climb, and Port would have also, right? But, I mean, then eventually lost it, and obviously he crashed. But the reason that Froome is known as just a smasher in the mountains, someone that can absolutely demolish everybody, is because of Richie Port. And although that's kind of obvious, people don't seem to be talking about that. They don't seem to realize that the only reason that Chris Froome is known for that is because of Port. Alright, so now that I've finished my kind of theory about Port and what he did for Froome and the reputation he built for Froome, I'm just going to give a quick update and a final summary on stage 9 on stage 9. So for Port, what I read somewhere, or I don't know, I read somewhere he was diagnosed with a concussion and then had I think a fractured pelvis and a fractured collarbone. Thank you, Sam. So stage 9 finished. I mean, Contador losing a chunk of time, a big chunk of time. Katana losing a smaller chunk. Same with Martin, Yates, obviously, and then Fulsang, Bardet, Aru, Oran, Froome finishing together. And then, I mean, Rigoberto Oran winning over Warren Barguil in a photo finish, which Warren Barguil thought that he had on the line. So a really thrilling finish. Romain Bardet attacking on the descent and then almost making it to the finish. So that was a crazy hectic stage 9 that I just had to finish off. I know that I went just 10-11 too, but so then now we get to stage 12. So in stage 12, it's the second mountain top finish of the race. It's a little bit different from just a straight uphill finish. It's definitely staying in tune with what the organizers have done so far, where nothing is predictable. There's not just a long slog of an uphill finish yet. I mean, that's stage 18. But it starts out with about, I think, 50k to go. There's a Cat 1, I think, about 75k to go. But with 50k to go, there's an orange category climb that, if I gotta open up this app again. Give me a second. This is great. It's a really great app. Stage 12 profile. Okay, so let's see. There we go. Perfect. So this HD climb is 11.7 kilometers. Average grade of 7.7% with pitches of 19.4. So that crests with about 30k to go. Then you have about a 15-kilometer descent, pretty kind of steep at first, and then levels out, and then gets steep again, leading to a Cat 1, the Col de Perazud. I'll probably butchered that as well, which is a Cat 1, as I said, 9.7 kilometers in length, with a maximum grade of 12.3% and an average grade of 7.6. And then this is where it gets interesting, because you'd think that it would at least finish on this Cat 1, but it doesn't. It crests with about, I'd say, 6 or 7k, with another, or I'd say 5K, and then about a K or two of descending that leads us onto the final climb, the Cat 2 of the day, which is 2.4K at 8.4% with a maximum grade of 14.1. But I've read places that in the last 200 meters it gets up to 20%. So it gets steep near the finish. So that's definitely going to be explosive. And if anybody's not on their game, they will not be able to hide. It's going to be a day where I think you're going to see, if they can, attacks from Contador and Quintana. People kind of counted Quintana out of this race, which I find kind of weird. Like, obviously, in my mind, too, he's pretty far back, 2:13 back, but I mean, like, this is a guy that's beaten Froome before. I mean, you saw it last year's Vuelta. He knows how to take time out of the man, and I mean, he's won the Giro and the Vuelta. Obviously, the Giro was not against Froome, but I mean, you can't count him out. 2:13, although it sounds like a good chunk of time, there's still 2 mountaintop finishes, including tomorrow. And then stage 13, which is 101K, we saw him take time out of Froome in the Vuelta last year in a similar stage. So, I mean, don't count him out, because he's got that attacking nature that, I mean, he could find his form in the last 2 weeks and really bring it to Froome. Obviously, the one man that Froome's not going to let out of his sight is Fabio Aru. I think on another day, on another year, if Aru was, a couple more minutes down, he definitely would have tried an attack early on, but I think he'll wait. I think we will see an attack from him if he can, unless Froome drops him before then. But look for an early attack from Jakob Fuglsang, either early on in that Cat 1 or even on that the orange category, the Col de Bias, I don't know. So look for an Alberto Contador attack on that HC climb. Look for a Fuglsang attack early on that Cat 1. And then, I mean, it's going to be a hectic finish. I think a breakaway will take this stage. I think a breakaway, about 15 riders will go clear. I don't think Sky will want it to be much more than that, and I think they have the power, especially early on in the stage, to be able to control the race, because it starts out flat. So I think they'll be able to pick and choose if they want to go on that breakaway, or at least if they don't want to go on the breakaway. I think you'll see Warren Barguil look to really polish off his King of the Mountains lead, and also go for a stage win, which he's been hunting. So for a stage pick, I'm gonna go with Warren Barguil. I think he's been strong. I think he's had a couple of days to recover, and then out of the GC men, I think Chris Froome will just end up gaining time on the men closest to him. I mean, maybe somebody sticks with him. I think Iran has the potential to stick with him. I think Martin also, if Martin has recovered. Today in stage 11, Fuglsang crashed, Contador crashed, so my prediction of him attacking could be neutralized because of that crash. And also, I heard that Bardet crashed. We didn't see pictures of it from what I was watching, but that could also take a toll. As for Aru, I just think he's going to I just think he's not going to have the legs. I think Froome is just, and even if he did attack, I think Sky is too strong, Froome's too strong, and I think Froome is just going to take time out of him. So expect to see Froome's lead above 45 seconds, definitely above 30 seconds by the end of the race tomorrow. So yeah, I can't wait for tomorrow's stage. I'll probably post another video much shorter than this one later in the day tomorrow. And thanks for listening. Give this channel a subscribe if you haven't already, and give me a like too. So again, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.